I am shocked at the traction this Hannity narrative has gotten. And here's what's shocking to me this week. When I saw, when you see Ron Johnson, the senator from Wisconsin, out there talking about, we have an informant, there's a secret meetings being held off-site. That's a loop. It goes from Hannity to somebody like Johnson and the president, and that is gaining real traction in this country.
And we have to remember, yeah, Hannity is a presidential advisor. The Daily Beast pointed out again this week. They're talking all the time. So, Hadas, how significant is it that Fox and the Washington Examiner were the first to get a sneak peek at the memo contents?
Listen, it definitely doesn't help the idea that this is some sort of objective memo and that the point of this release was for more transparency when the first people to get their hands on it are outlets that have been friendlier to the president and to his agenda than anybody else. This whole memo, though, has reminded me of sometimes when you go to museums in other countries and they portray a war that we learned about from the other side, and you just see these two alternate realities. And you have to remember in all of this that for the people who support Trump, who voted for him, they voted him into office to drain the swamp, to get rid of what they like to call the deep state. And so for them, this memo is a great thing, because if it leads to this house cleansing of the FBI, that is what they voted for. They voted to get these people out of office. So while to some people that might seem
You mean the concerns
horrible
about a constitutional crisis, the concerns about our institutions eroding, it's actually a good thing to his voters?
To some voters, that's exactly, they wanted him to literally drain the swamp. And if that means getting rid of these people who politicians might praise as being long-serving members of the intelligence community who have dedicated their lives to this, to some Trump voters, that's the deep state, and that's who we need to be getting rid of.
The talking point on Fox this morning from Corey Lewandowski was, are they spying on you and me? Are they spying on all of us? It had the feel of a new conspiracy being born using this memo. So, Michael Isikoff, what do you take away from the right-wing narrative of the past few days?
Well, look, it's not surprising. There were some new details in the memo, but the problem with the memo is it's so selective and obviously incomplete that it's hard to know what the bottom line takeaway should be. I mean, the fact that the Steele dossier was used as a basis for the original FISA warrant against Carter Page is interesting and important information. We don't know to what extent it was used, how much weight it was given by the court, as opposed to all the other information that the FBI presented to the court that is not detailed in the memo. It's also highly relevant, I thought, and perhaps one of the most significant parts of the memo, is that the FBI got 3 renewals from the court on that FISA warrant, which they could only have gotten if it was providing fruitful information. So that in and of itself undercuts the idea that this was all some conspiracy to go after Carter Page because of his ties to the Trump campaign. They were, if they got it renewed, the FBI, the Justice Department, and a federal judge would have had to have found a sound basis for that.
Right. So there's more we should know. Journalists are pro-transparency.
Absolutely.
There's more documents we should see. My problem is when there's an attempt to ignore everything Mueller's investigating, all the serious concerns, and talk solely about FISA abuse instead. Let's look at this, Isikoff. This is Sean Hannity talking about you in the memo a couple nights ago.
The FBI then used a Yahoo News report that was written by Michael Isikoff. The source for the information in the Yahoo News report was none other than Christopher Steele, the same author of the dossier that they were using. This is what we call circular reporting, because the FBI was pretending that they had 2 sources when in fact it was the same source.
Michael, you've said Steele was one of your sources, so why is Hannity wrong here?
Well, what we don't know from this memo is what the FBI was citing my article for. And I should point out that Adam Schiff, who has seen the underlying documents, was on another TV show this morning and said it was being cited for information in the article other than what Steele had provided. So, again, we haven't seen the FISA application. We don't know what it was they were specifically citing. I was surprised to see a reference to me in the memo. I had no idea I was going to get such
now you got to
attention
update your
from it.
book before it goes to press.
Exactly. We'll be doing
But here's
that
the thing,
this
Michael.
weekend.
I saw you saying on other programs that you knew that Christopher Steele was working for someone who was opposed to Trump, a Democrat perhaps.
Yes.
Shouldn't you have told your readers that?
Well, the ground rules for the for my interview with Steele was on background. I can only talk about it now because he has disclosed the fact that he spoke to me. So I am free to share that. But what was significant to me was Steele made these allegations was the FBI investigating them? Were they taking them seriously? And that was the gist of the article. So if you go back and take a look at it, you'll see that the primary point here is that I had confirmation that there was a U.S. intelligence investigation relating to somebody who at that point was an advisor to the Republican nominee for president. That's what was significant about my article, and that's the basis for it.
Do you feel, Michael, that there's a noise machine trying to distract from the actual Russia probe, the actual Russia questions?
Well, I think that's obvious, isn't it?
Okay, I'm not crazy.
Sure.
I'm just checking.
Yeah. No,
to
I
me,
mean,
it's overwhelming.
that is the entire drift of everything that you're hearing on Fox News and from the president's defenders to take the ball off.
It's like they're so
the Mueller
scared to find out what happened before Election Day. They're so terrified to find out what happened in our election, and so scared about how Trump tried to cover it up that they can't bear to talk about it.
Yeah, but look, there's going to be a reckoning at the end of the day. I mean, Mueller is going to produce a report. He will undoubtedly be asked to testify before Congress whether or not he brings additional criminal charges. So, I mean, we will know at some point how much weight, all these matters will be given, how much accuracy there was in the Steele dossier. But more broadly, what has he been telling the special counsel? What has Michael Flynn been telling the special counsel? What else has he learned? And, at some point, my guess is it's going to be far more nuanced than either side wants it to be.